Hi, my name is Anjali, and welcome to Fem Stories. Today, I have another trailblazer with me who is nothing but exceptionally inspiring. And I've been chasing her for months. I know she's keeping busy and she's also running a lot of initiatives. But today, I have her on Zoom, and I want to share a brief introduction about her. And she's been a homemaker for more than 20 years, more than 2 decades. And then she found her calling in, she's working very actively with Aspire for her community as a chief growth officer. And she has a very, very unique story to tell. And that is the reason I really wanted to connect with her and create her fem story here. And today is the day when we do that. So I would love to welcome Ruchita Tandon to Fem Story Studios. Welcome, Ruchita. Thank you so much for taking your time and be here with me. I know we have had lots of difficulties in terms of schedules today, technical, power, electrical. So I think I always take a positive spin on this. There is something huge positive in it to create this. So that's why there is a barrage of issues, but then you have to go through it to be able to create it. So here's the moment. I really welcome you and thank you so much for being on Fem Stories.
I would say thank you very much, Anjali. And I do agree. We've been chasing each other for a really long, long time. But at the same time, I have to tell you, you're quite persistent and resilient also.
I
You were
do.
still there. So no matter how hard I tried, whether I come to Delhi and do it in person, it didn't happen, but you kept following. So
Yes.
that's one of the things which also gets me attracted to why I should be doing something is the persistence and resilience because it's very much part of my journey also. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
an
Thank
honor
you.
and privilege. Thank you so much for having me over here.
Thank you so much for sharing that, personal observation. Thank you again. Let's start and create your fem story. So I would love to understand from your own personal experience in terms of how do you define your journey so far, and when did it become professional? What were the turning points that you think, okay, this is the time when I was done with my personal homemaker timing, and then I just switched to this professional space, and it changed the entire game for me. So what was that turning point? And just give us your experience as well.
It's a very strange thing because it started with a mere coincidence. And
Yes.
I've been a topper in engineering when I graduated. I was working, doing well. And then at that time, when I was to get married, I had to relocate. So that's one of the
Hmm.
times when I thought that, I'll probably give some time to marriage because I'm relocating. And my
Yeah.
husband was with a consulting business that involved a lot of travel. And going back so many years, we were all excited to travel because we'd never done that before, right? So
Okay.
at that time, not priority to me, but it was traveling with my husband in different countries and actually using my passport and visas of different countries. So that was the most exciting
Wow.
thing.
Nice.
And
Great.
it so happened that one after another, things just happened. And then, I lost my father. I was in the family way. We
Oh, wow.
relocated, and I had the second kid there. And in that process, and then we came back to India, I never remembered that I was working, and journey just continued with, basically looking at the kids, being as part of the family
Yeah.
until COVID.
Hmm.
But one of the things in the 22 years that I have been a homemaker was also that I used my time very creatively and effectively, which
Nice.
means that, there were things which I was doing creatively, but it was for the family. So everything
What
revolved
are
around
those
the.
creative things that you were doing?
So, a couple of things. While, of course, I was ferrying my kids between the different classes as they were growing up, and especially with my daughter moving about with her. But it was
Yeah.
also so if I knew that, they do have odd timings and it was about making healthy food for them, it was also in terms of giving them those initial,
Yeah.
push when it comes to studying and navigating your journey through your exams and your
Hmm.
competitive exams. At the same time, having that importance on extracurricular activities. And for both of
Yeah.
my kids, I was very clear that you need one individual activity, which could be, and it could be anything between both of them, and one has to be a team building activity. So these
Oh.
were two things which I was very clear about as they were growing up. And I think both of them pursued one, which was an hobby in an individual capacity, and the second was a team building. So I was pretty happy about that because they need to learn how to build a team. I never moved about with them and giving them, the comforts of going in car to school. It was a school bus. You miss it, then I'm not there sitting for you. So while I was at home, I still had my terms and conditions. That was one of the things that I did. That just because I'm at home, I'm not going to
Yes,
be always sleeping,
you're not
right?
available
There is a
always.
bit of effort.
You can't be
Yeah.
taken for granted. So you kept those boundaries and you maintain that even homemaking into not just being taken for granted, and make sure you instill and cultivate those values and strict boundaries with the kids also.
Yeah. I did that because they shouldn't think that I'm just available for them anytime that they want. So I did
Yeah.
have those. And I think being disciplined was one of the things that I do inherit as a quality, which
Yes.
means that I did have a time. I knew that everybody's moving out. There's a little me time, which I used spend for yoga or for gym. Then there was home time. And then there was, again, being with friends and then be doing something meaningful for them, whether it was, getting
Mm.
into cooking, creating something new, creating healthy because they're out full day, or managing on those times.
Yeah.
But when COVID came in, actually, that was the time I realized both my kids were grown up. They was in their own rooms with their studies. My husband was in his own room, and things had started opening up a little bit. And I realized I have a lot of time on hand.
Yeah.
That's when I reached out to a friend of mine. Our kids studied
Mm.
together, and she was a consultant from a very long time. And I said, see, I
Mm.
don't think I can do a 9 to 6 job because I've not done
Yeah.
that for so many years.
Yeah.
But if it's something which I can, which is part-time,
Mm.
I don't mind looking into it.
Mm.
And that's when she said that I am mentoring on this so-called platform, which is Aspire for her, and they are
Mm.
looking out for volunteers. It was for some English speaking course,
Okay.
English speaking
Is
skill.
that
I think
is
that,
that Madhura Das Gupta you reached out to?
yeah. So she knew Mathura,
Okay, she knew
and she
Mathura.
said,
Okay, so
"I'll
you.
connect you. I'll connect you to Mathura."
Okay,
And I
okay.
remember that one day I was like, messaging Madhura, and Madhura being Madhura, she said, meet me on Zoom in the next 15 minutes.
That's exactly
And
how she told me. I'm like, I can't arrange a podcast that early. Oh my God. She's given me three timings, but exactly the way you just told me. And I think it's my bad now that I know how she operates. I was not able to arrange a podcast in that 15 minutes for her, but now I will do it now that I know that that's how she operates. And
yeah,
that's the
this
missing
was
point.
long back. This was actually way back now in 2020. I think sometime I had met her.
Yeah.
Uh, See, while I was also part of being a housemaker, and my kids grew up, so
Yeah.
they were handling their own email IDs. So the only emails that I got was Marks and Spencer, West Side, we
Mm.
miss you, Nature's Basket, right? So I'd stopped
Yeah.
seeing the email. Now, for me to come on Zoom was a really big challenge because
Mm.
I kind of know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other good things about COVID was also that my kids were at home, and my daughter was really quite considerate. She immediately got up from her class and said, okay, let me set that for you.
Help you. Yeah.
That's when I met Madhura for the first time. And I
Nice.
decided on a small volunteering project. But I think there was something in her which still said that, no, maybe I can look at something more. So I started with some 15 minutes a day, half an hour a day. And coincidentally, there was also a time when, for the first time, I came on LinkedIn. And
Mm.
I had not made a profile of mine, and I really didn't know what to do. So I started with a homemaker. But the
Mm.
beauty of LinkedIn was that it started throwing up my not just friends, but also I realized I got connected to my old colleagues. And that's when I realized I was working at one point in time, which I'd quite much forgotten. So all this
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
just like a coincidence, right? Everything was aligning together.
Yeah.
And I told a friend of mine, I said, see, I've got school friends, college friends, a few of the employees, and beyond 50 connections, I don't think I will have anything that I need to be on LinkedIn. And I was
Yeah.
really contemplating, is this the right place for me to be or no? But after
Hmm.
I met Mathura, I also realized that, uh, this is now where I have a small identity for myself with whatever little that
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think I started with Aspire for her, and in about 15 days or a month, I
Hmm.
changed my title from a homemaker to a lead at Aspire for her.
Very
So
good.
that was the first thing that happened. And of course, we were a small, very, very small startup. not thought about the entire journey, but I just started because I was sitting at home. I didn't have any issues. I fortunately had a laptop free for myself and I got into it. It's only
Right.
this journey that when Madhura talked about why she started Aspire for her, I could feel a lot of personal links to it, right? That women tend to
Mm-hmm.
go out of the workforce. And this is something as a homemaker, I never realized because my target audience with whom I'm interacting are mostly mothers, right? So
Mm.
you see many women around. You do
Yeah.
see women who are working, but you don't know the stats. You don't
Yeah.
know the reason.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that really stuck a chord with me.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I said, let me try for it. And soon we were growing. It was not just about colleges where we started with the
Mm-hmm.
mindset, but corporates. And then I think from 15 minutes to few hours to half a day to I think I was doing
Mm-hmm.
it almost full volunteering. And that's when Madhura thought that, yes, why not take you as an employee at Aspire for her? And that's how my journey started with Aspire for her.
Fantastic.
And it's
Awesome.
not looking back then.
Not looking back. Absolutely. So there is a door that opened for you, and you grabbed that door. You made the best use of that door, and you create a beautiful mansion out of it. I think that's how I'll take a quick summary and one line out of what you just told me, which is amazing. I mean, that's hats off to you. I mean, that's really inspiring, right? And also the community, because what Madhura has created. I check in to aspire for her. I check in by check in. I mean, I do follow her on LinkedIn posts and LinkedIn feeds. And the way she is expanding, collaborating, and networking in a right space, it hits you in a right note. That's how it should be. And that's what inspired me as well, because when I moved into India 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I was trying to connect because I've been out of India for a very long time, almost 16, 17 years. When I moved in, I felt like I'm a new person because I used to come very less often as well, like yourself, right? You were also outside the country. So I think this is one thing that connected a lot with me, resonated a lot with me, with Madhura ma'am. So I'm going to have her now because I think she's hard to catch. I'm not able to get her schedule, and partly it's mine too. So now I'm going to catch her. So moving from that perspective, now, cut to today. I mean, you're working with two things that I want to make sure that I discuss that with you. One is you're helping women who are out of their workforce, and you help them to get financial independence. You help them get work. You help them get their identity. Somehow you can at least strike the chord as well, because who better than you to do that? And then second is the corporates, in terms of how you work with the corporates as well. Like you're working with biggies, right? The Amazons of the world. How do you connect those two spaces?
So, firstly, we have a mission and vision of getting 1 million women in the workforce by 2025. And we do
Fantastic.
it using communities. Now, when we talk of communities, return to work happens to be one of the communities.
Hmm.
However, we have communities which we are talking about women in college, we are talking about girls in school. Of course, there are returnees, but there are women leaders as well as there are emerging professionals.
Hmm.
One of the things that we do is we work on mindset because for women, it is the mindset that you have to work on. It is the resources that we provide for the mindset. And I think that gives them a strong ground to move. Of course, women on a career break is something that I know.
Hmm.
However, because this happened just coincidentally for me, I technically did not face many challenges.
Hmm.
And a little bit, I found a very supportive family. So there were a
Yeah.
few things I could see my Word, I could see Excel. It's just that I had lost touch of it with it.
Yeah.
The second
Yeah.
part, which I
And you
also
were
mentioned,
happier
is
that, right? It wasn't that you were, it was your choice to be home and
yes,
be happy. It wasn't
yes.
like that you were struggling there, right?
Yeah, I was happy and contented in whichever space I was. That was one of the things. So that is one of the things. So returnees is one part. The second part is growing the women with their skills. So while we are talking of bridging the gender gap, we are also trying to bridge the talent gap. And this
Hmm.
primarily comes with the kind of work that we are doing with communities. And it holds good for women across all sectors. So for example, if you're
Okay.
looking at women leaders, how do they get onto board positions? If you're looking
Hmm.
at emerging professionals, how do they look at building themselves towards leadership, creating that
Mm-hmm.
pipeline? If it is
Sure.
returnees, how do they come back? But it's not just about coming back. So one of the things common for women in college as well as returnees is it's not about just coming into the workforce, but it's also staying there.
Mm.
So that's how we work around all of them. So in this part of this journey, how we connected was with corporates was also something which was like it just happened as we were moving on. With Madhura, her connects, with me and my connects, as soon as we started with
Mm.
Aspire for her, there were a few connects we reached out, and then we realized that one is that it's a global problem, not just the India problem.
It's not
And
just
then
here,
a
yeah?
lot of Yes. And a lot of corporates were then looking at enhancing their DEI activities. This was right in
Mm.
COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something which we began. And we started, we moved out with our connects. We had other folks reaching out to us. Aspire for Her actually came onto LinkedIn. A lot of people
Mm.
saw the work that we were doing. We reached out to a few, and a few reached out to us. It worked both ways.
That's great.
And that's when we started our journey with our partners in terms of, again, with us and our corporates. Again, there's a chord that struck both of us, right? It is a
Mm-hmm.
mission that we have, it is a goal that they were looking at. And
Yeah.
that's the primarily, I think, the first thing that happened. But of course, AWS was my major project. It was the
But
first
how does
one.
it
It was
work? Yeah. But how
uh,
does it work? Like
about
you connect the women like for working.
women.
Just walk me through a scenario.
So we work on a mindset change model, and that model includes mentorship, it includes upskilling, it includes career resources, and the final impact through the community that we are looking at is employment, entrepreneurship, or education that leads to one of the two. And based on that, we have our corporate connects. And that's when we are looking at, so either we are connecting for upskilling the community, or we are looking at building a pipeline, or we
Hmm.
are looking at building internal leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
based on that, corporates are interested. And that's how we work, either for their internal programs or for
Yeah.
external programs. And
Okay.
that's how today, while we started we're going to complete 5 years this IWD, we've got a community size of close to 7.5 lakh plus members, mentors, and supporters. We're trying and inching every step closer to the 1 million by 2025. And hopefully, I hope we are there sometime soon.
Awesome. That's amazing. Good numbers and I think good approach as well. What is the biggest challenge you still face while you're doing the job that you're doing right now?
I still face with mindsets. And these mindsets are both sides. Sometimes we also, while of course it's the mindset of women that we're talking about, where it's like it's for their good, but they have so many self-doubt, the self-belief. And it's not just across, with returnees, it's with women in college, it's also with emerging professionals, it's also with leaders that I have seen in this journey. And the
Okay.
second part also, you've got to battle a lot of unconscious bias with the corporates also. So that is
Mm-hmm.
again another struggle. So it's not just one way. I would say we're trying
Mm.
and bridging the
Both
gap in
way.
both the ways. There is something that happens at leadership level, but what translates and moves down, it's always slightly different. So trying to make those ends work, we've really put in a lot of hard work.
So let's double
It's
click
not easy.
that. When you say there is a conscious bias in the corporates, explain like with an example. For instance, if you're working with a manager in Amazon and trying to hire, or I mean, just give me an example in terms of
No, no. So
what is the
different
scenario?
corporates have different partnerships, so different
Yeah.
corporates have different partnerships. And it is not just about recruitment. So recruitment is just a side. That is not
Mm.
something that I'm looking at. But it's
Yeah.
also about when you're looking at returnship programs, you're looking at other programs, you want more women into your system, you're looking at building the pipeline. Somewhere these challenges we do see come up in the long run in terms of what is the definition of the women that we are looking at, what is the skill set we are looking at.
Yeah.
However, the end goal is to have more women within the system. So
Yeah.
those are part of the learning of this journey that we have. That's somewhere where we try and build and bridge the gap also.
Got it. Got it. That's amazing. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around as well in terms of understanding this, but this sounds really awesome to me in terms of how it's helping women to get their feet, stronghold either in entrepreneurship or in the corporate, which is amazing, leveraging the Aspire for her network and collaboration.
And
Let's,
one thing that I'll emphasize actually, Anjali, is on the mentorship. See,
yeah.
mentorship is something we have been giving both in 1:1 and 1:many formats. And
Hmm.
I think that's what strikes also a chord with the audience, which is our target audience is women. And I think they get a lot of guidance from there. So today,
Yeah.
if I tell you, a lot of women on a career break might look at me in terms of,
Yeah.
how I've come back or the confidence with which I've come back.
Yeah.
And they kind of gain inspiration from that if
Yeah.
she can do it, so can I. And
So
that's
can
what
I.
I always leave in my last line, that if I can do it, so can you. And
Yeah.
similarly, if I talk about, while I've been on a break, but if I look at a young college girl, she
Yeah.
also looks at it in terms of a very motivational journey, that you've come back, and that
Hmm.
itself means a lot, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
third, when you even look at women leaders, what they see in you is a story of resilience. What they see in you is a story of perseverance.
Yeah.
And that's what strikes a chord even there. So I feel that if the intent is right, things automatically just come up.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down from all the good intent and, of course, work and actions accordingly behind that. So let's shift gears a little bit. I mean, I know you're Chief Growth Officer for Aspire for Her. You work with Madhura Das Gupta. You have so many women to work with and change their life on the daily basis. It's a huge karma that you're doing in a good way. So it'll definitely, it all comes back eventually. The universe looks into it. I want to learn more about the networking aspect, in terms of people who are established. Let's just say, an entrepreneur or somebody who's a startup founder, or a female who has a job in the corporate. How do you work with them? Because I know we have already spoken with respect to how you uplift and motivate the joinees, the college folks, but the ones who are already established or the leaders at the corporates who already have a company going, do you work with them as well in terms of connect and up skill or whatever? And how does that work?
See, when it comes to women leaders, and community is a place where all of them are comfortable, because the community is the space that we have seen women tend to inspire, motivate, and elevate each other.
Yeah.
Now, if you talk of women leaders, again, they definitely need a community. So some
Mm.
of the programs that we do typically is, one is, of course, a Women on Boards program. And the Women on Boards program is a program for women leaders who are looking at actually getting into board roles, because that is the next step in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, the way we do it, and I have seen in this journey, when we were building this program, right, and we interacted with women leaders who applied, probably they also didn't know what this program is, and it just looked like a women on board program. And uh, we saw women applying for it. But what was missing from that is, till then, I saw that they didn't have the aspiration to come on a board.
Hmm.
However, we created that by building this community where we got role models. There was a little bit of learning. So everything that I mentioned around the 5 point model that I talked about, mentorship, I talked about upskilling, that as part of our mindset change works across all the communities. So for
Mm-hmm.
them, we gave them a platform which was not just for their growth, but they also got to connect with other industry experts
Mm-hmm.
who were probably in a similar bracket like them. And that similar bracket could be with a minimum of 20 to 25 years of experience. It could be a CEO or a CEO minus one. But their challenges, their journey is something what connected them. And of
Yeah.
course, we try to take them to the next level. So
Perfect.
the
Awesome.
moment one person comes on the board of an organization, whether it's a not for profit or for profit, she also becomes an inspiration for the other women,
Yeah, I mean, it's
right?
a
Where
halo
they are
effect,
looking.
right? It's a snowball effect. I mean, you lead to a goodness and the goodness comes. So, with that note, I would love to be part. I would love to be part of
Definitely.
Aspire for Her in whatever way I can contribute. I mean, I'm sure there is a lot to contribute, giving
Oh,
back to the
yes.
community, and I've spoken that to Madhura as well. And I think I'll take that impact when I have her on the podcast as well. But I would love to be part of it. It's so inspiring and it's so nice. And part of the Fem Stories is also the same mission. Fem Stories is my passion project, like I mentioned when I moved to India. And what I saw when I opened my own company was there was very little funding given to women. Even there's a huge ecosystem of startups in India. I mean, it's a huge change. in India right now. It's driving change, it's driving the GDP, it's driving the overall mindset. Even for the auto wala telling you, ma'am, aap Paytm kar dijiye, that's a huge thing, you know. Digital payment is a
Yeah,
huge thing. So this is a new India, while at the same time there are issues on the roads and the networking issues as well in the country. So there's a change for sure in the country. But
absolutely.
from the mindset perspective, it's like striking the chord. You know, I have faced the same similar experience. The mindset has still not changed to that level that you would really like to be changed, at least in I would not say in the areas like Gurugram, Bangalore, Bombay, but in the majority parts of the India, which is also India, right? It's not that we are only living in the main country, metropolitan cities. The mindset is still not there. With that said, having that said, I mean, I would love to understand in terms of, you know, because the fem stories, the mission for fem stories is to create that voice, to create those impactful stories, to create and, you know, bring those stories to the world and create that voice. So that resonated with me, and, you know, how I'm inviting every single founder. So from that perspective, how do you think, how long will it take to get to that mindset that where women can be, let me put two examples. Women can be single and happy. Women can be married and happy. Women can be, you know, 50 plus and create companies and still be not judged. The cerebral opportunities, the equal opportunities, and not be compared with men and women in terms of funding, in terms of, you know, when they're starting a new company. So there are too many categories. So what do you think about that mindset? Because I think that's a very big keyword that I've extracted out of the conversation.
See, if you look at some global studies and all, they say that it's going to take probably more than 150 years in terms of
Oh.
getting the gender parity, right? See, mindset is something, the mindset change that we talk about, it is something that you don't see very easily. You start feeling it. And that is
Mm.
one of the things that we have seen. It's happening very, very slow, but it is happening. And that's because
Mm.
of the journey of ours also that we have seen. Yeah, the first is we are definitely looking. So today we have, members who are pan India, right? They are, of course, from international countries also. So we have about 60 countries, primarily India being the major one. And we talk not only about, metros, we also go to tier two and tier three cities. And tier three cities is where the first thing that we are looking at is first giving them skilling opportunities, right? You need
Yeah.
to skill them. And that's how then mindset comes. Sometimes it works directly, sometimes it works indirectly. Women entrepreneurs, of course, there is a lot that comes with funding and other issues. We try and tackle that as a community, which is called as Entrepreneury for Women Entrepreneurs, specifically handling their challenges.
Got it.
Women entrepreneurs definitely become a huge part of our ecosystem. The
Yeah.
reason is they are job creators
Yeah.
and they create an ecosystem for job seekers as they grow. And we are hoping that in every journey of a woman entrepreneur, she will look at adding more women into her system. So
Yeah.
that's our take on women entrepreneurs. And we do help them. There are a lot of challenges. Primarily, they are all alone in this journey of theirs. Now, when I talk about mindset, so when we are doing certain rural programs also, of course, the
Yeah.
scale of those are very less. The target audience is very, very huge. In them, it's mindset issues, it's family issues, it's a lot more. But one
Yeah.
of the things that we feel in all these is that by providing upskilling opportunities, they at least get confidence to a certain level. And
Okay.
depending on the sectors that they come in, we try and give them either professional employability skills or then entrepreneurial skills, depends on the background, the state, the mindset of the particular state, and so on. So it's
Mhm.
not a one solution that fits all, but you
It
have
does
to
not.
assess the situation and then decide. So North works very different from South.
Yeah. Yeah. Very. Yeah. Within the same country, we have a very different mindset.
Yes.
You know, it's about the mindset. And also, I think, according to me, raising the next generation with girls and boys equally, it's also very, it's imperative. It's a very crucial part of changing that mind shift mindset. Also, working with the previous generation as well. And, you know, in terms of creating that balance within the country. And of course, the social media, the YouTube, the podcasting, the conversations, the content creation is also helping. I see my mom's dialogues, not dialogue, I would call it her mindset or her information building has changed over the years, because now she's more aware of what's going around. People
Absolutely.
from the marital perspective as well, like girls are moving on, girls getting married after 35. So now it, maybe 10 years ago it wasn't accepted, but now it is. So I think things have changed from that generation's perspective, but there is a responsibility on our shoulders as well to raise the next generation even with more awareness, so that the gender parity doesn't exist in the country
Yes.
like India. And of course you have the big onus as well in terms of driving this change. So that is what I
Yes.
was trying to understand. Amazing. Great discussion. I think I wanted to go a quick time check. It's 1:11. We started around 12:35, right? How much we have? I don't know how much time do we have. But anyways, I think we'll just do some fun rapid fire. Every podcast has that rapid fire. We have same question and answers, but we call it Fem Fire. So again, it's a very
Oh,
fun part to get to know you. Basically, just a couple of questions, and we just call it a podcast. And this is your Fem story for everybody to watch and take inspiration from another angle. I would take probably some pictures from you as well, so that I can weave into a good Fem story and give it to my editing team. So here we go. You need to just answer the very first thing that comes to your mind. What is, let me just check here. Hold on. So, what are the top three pieces of advice you would give a woman in her 20s?
in her 20s.
Just three, quick.
Three. Oh, that is going to be quick. First is you definitely need to have a goal. This is for everybody that I talk.
Yeah.
One thing common for everybody, if you're going to ask me another age group, is also going to be persistence and resilience is something that you have to.
Yes.
And most importantly, is the first thing is believe in yourself.
Yes.
And this is something that I would like to tell, especially to young college girls. I recently
Yeah.
went to one of the colleges and I realized that women really are shy of speaking up, talking about their problems,
Yeah.
talking about even giving solutions to the problem. So they need to
Yes.
believe in themselves. They need to be persistent as well as they need to be resilient and they need to have their goal and focus on that.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Is there any failure that you thought that changed you?
I haven't put much of a thought to it, but there are always small failures. One of the biggest thing that I think for failure that comes to you is when you think of running something in a particular way and it doesn't turn out that way. I think for me that has happened a couple of times, but I look at it in terms of a learning for a new initiative that I have to put in.
Got
So
it.
yeah, there are failures, but the idea is to learn from it and move forward. That is what
Yeah.
I
I
would
mean,
look
I would
at from
rather
this.
use the word challenge. I mean, failure is probably a stronger word.
I
Yeah.
But that also makes you more persistent and resilient once that happens because you're
Yes.
then looking at making the changes in the new one and then
True.
seeing what the changes are. So that is how
Absolutely.
I related to it. And I think that's been a part of this journey that has taken me this long way.
Fantastic. Okay. The next three questions are going to be super quick, more than a fem fire. What does the book you're reading?
I'm not very much a book fan. I'll be
Okay.
very honest. So
That's pretty honest.
yeah, I'm pretty honest about it. While I thought this would be a question, I do not read very much, although I do see. I would probably see that in a movie clipping, or I would see it in clippings like that, but not a very much book fan.
And then travel, international or India?
Both of them. The
Okay.
only thing is we start moving outside. The reason is because we are looking at culture, we are looking at other aspects which we haven't seen in India, but India has a lot of wealth and
Yeah,
heritage. And each time I
absolutely.
try and make it a point that if I'm traveling outside, but twice a year, I have to look at India also. And we do it. There's a lot we learn from the country.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
both of it. And I travel very often. Believe me, I've most of the times lived out of a suitcase. Even as we are talking, I just came back last evening at 12 at home. I was traveling to Ahmedabad and I came back. So I literally have one suitcase packed. I think next week again, I'm going to be traveling. Weekends is something I've done right from the last 26 years that I've been married.
Great, awesome. And then what makes Ruchita ticks on? Like what makes you on in terms of, okay, this is what brings the fire in me.
Impact. You know, the
Okay.
change that I see by doing a particular program, that is one of the things that I have seen gives me, it makes me feel very, very satisfied. So, ever since I've been part of Aspire for Her, I must be doing some things small here and there. But this is very fulfilling because every initiative that we've done, I do not have a single day where I do not get a message either on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn, where directly or indirectly there has been a transformation in the life of the woman. And
Wow.
that I think has been the most fulfilling part. I never thought that I would be restarting a career, especially at a time where, when I joined after 22 years and I restarted my career, my son started his career at 21. So we were
Yeah,
almost at the same time that we
same time.
we both did. But the kind of change that I have seen, either directly or indirectly, that has been the biggest satisfaction. That gives me the energy for the next day and happiness at the end of the day.
That's awesome. On that note, I think I also read your bio. You have so many awards under your kitty. I'm pretty sure you will get many more such awards because I think knowing you for a few minutes and just interacting with your mind and your future, present, and your past was amazing. It was great to know you as a personality, Ruchita. I thank you
Thank you so
again
much.
for being on this podcast. I think it's one of the, I think it's an inspiration to have women like you in our society so that it brings a change that is much needed. And I really wanted to capture this to bring that voice out. So a
Thank
perfect
you.
candidate for the Fem Stories. And thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you.
So yeah, I think Ruchita, I mean, what exactly what you think will be inspiring for other women in terms of what your experience has taught you that you want to share with other women entrepreneurs as well.
See, one of the things that I've always believed in, and while you do believe in yourself, because until you believe in yourself, you're not going to get the confidence of whatever you're doing. So that's very, very important. The second thing is invest in yourself in terms
Hmm.
of a me time. Because forever we are doing things either for the organization, you're doing it for the family, you're doing it for your parents, and you're forever doing it. But that me time is something which I've been, I think, for a longest time, I've done that for myself. Engage in anything that you feel is either entertaining or is de-stressing or is giving you energy. And this is
Yeah.
something I tell my team also. And you'll not believe, but I do have periodic checks when I ask them, have you invested in a hobby of yours? Have you
Hmm.
invested in, some kind of fitness for yourself? Because today, with the way things are going, you have to be there for
Mentally and
yourself.
physically fit. Yes. I call it self
That
love. Yeah. I
yeah,
call it self love.
it's
I
more
think,
about self-love. And
yeah.
it's also about cultivating your hobby. You do need
Yeah.
to be focused over there also. It gives you a new energy and I think
Yeah.
a new spirit in whatever you're doing. And I think when people
Yeah.
tell me, oh, how did you manage that? I said, I do have my me time, which gives me the time to recover and come back full on.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I mean, that's a beautiful thought because I believe in that too. I think it's one of the key things for my in my roster to have a me time. Although it's very difficult, I have very young kids, but it's very important because that's when you connect with your own self. It's not, it could be anything.
Absolutely.
You can manifest through a spa, you can do anything outside. But the
Anything
key,
for
or
yourself.
just for a walk or a hike or a food or whatever, but the key is to connect that your soul inside you, to connect with that Anjali inside you, connect with that Ruchita inside you. And that is self-love and just nurture it. Talk to it, nurture it. You can call it meditation or whatever. So me time is it's a very important thing for all women out there, even if you're not entrepreneur, even if you're leadership role, you're making a huge impact like yourself. The me time slash self love slash investing in yourself is very important, because that drives your energy, drives you, that makes you brand, that makes you you. So that's a very important part, and really good to cover that. I think we'll make a good stuff out of it. With that, I think it's great. Again, thank you, Ruchita. I have another guest
Thank
waiting. I'm going to have an in-person
Absolutely.
with her, and we should meet sometime. If you're in Delhi, I think we should have a
Definitely.
coffee or lunch sometime. And I'm going to give you a call as well, based on your schedule, to connect on a personal note as well.
Definitely.